Hello, you absolutely wonderful, wonderful people, and welcome back to the Blacktown Football Hour podcast. This is episode number, the atomic number of calcium, the number in which you have to put a plus beforehand in order to make a phone call in Egypt, the number of moves that you can make on a Rubik's Cube, no matter how messed up it is, and solve it within, and along with the Women's World Cup, the number of goals in which England's Lionesses beat Latvia by in November of 2021. Episode 20 of the Blacktown Football Hour podcast. My name is Mark DePoli. Thank you so much for being here. Leave a like for Women's World Cup. Subscribe if you are new around here. Subscribe if you haven't already. Make a new account and subscribe so that when we get to 1,000, I can do a sprint clap of this pitch, which you guys have all been waiting for. And remember to cue the intro music. Wow, a home World Cup, it's a dream. It's a dream. I hope you all enjoy it. I hope you've all got your tickets. I can't wait to be watching the football, whether you're at the pub, whether you're at home, whether you're in a library and they have a TV on behind the counter. I don't know. Or you're at the games. If you're at the games, have the best time. Enjoy it. It's a month to relish. Good luck, Tillies. This week's volunteer of the week emerges from Minchinbury Reserve, and it is Robert Finn from the Jets. Now, before I read into this and I read the words of Club President Stephen Bradbury, this is one of the most deserved Volunteer of the Week awards I think we'll ever give out. So it's my pleasure to be able to read this and give this to you. Minchinbury Jets would like to nominate Robert Finn as our Club Person of the Week. Rob is a dedicated member of the Jets who has been involved with our club for many years. This is despite him having no children at the club. Rob is a committed coach who coaches the Under-8s Division 4 team. Rob also frequently referees Mini Rouge games on Saturdays when we need help and is always offering to lend a hand. Due to health issues, Rob is unable to drive but always ensures that he is at training and matches early and properly prepared. When he has been unable to get a lift, Rob has been known to catch an Uber to ensure that he is at training and games. Rob's commitment and love for the game are to be commended, and we are happy to recognise his efforts with this nomination. Rob, an amazing person, and the BDSFA to you, thank you so much. What can you expect from this week's episode? Well, first and foremost, I will say that with the mix of the Quakers Hill Tigers 14 State Cup final on Sunday and the Women's World Cup this week, it's been rather busy. But I can promise you that the content that we do have today is great. Now, first and foremost, St Pat's can host Minchinbury Jets and prove themselves to be top 4 solidifiers and more than contenders if they do get a win. It's going to be a great match of the round in the WPL 2. While Minchinbury were unable to, unfortunately, join us this week on the podcast, it was St Pat's who did join us a little bit earlier today, actually, just a couple of hours ago. And their All-Star representative, Michael Soa, and their coach, Mario Gonzalez, had a lot to say and actually spoke really, really well. It's great to have them back finally since they played a game against Tigers here a long time ago. Now, in the Women's Premier League, this is where the focus should be this week. In the match of the round, Kellyville host Quakers. Now, for the Quakers Hill Juniors to be back on the podcast so soon after what was a humbling defeat at the hands of Norwest, I am very appreciative. So thank you to the Cumbo clan for coming on. Always entertaining, always with smiles bearing on their face. Now, Kellyville, ultra confident always, ultra belief in their football, in their system, in their players, in their coach, and themselves. That's slipped in a couple of recent weeks, hasn't it? 1 win in their last 5. That's 3 points from an available 15. It's not been great, and a draw before that in their 6th most recent game. So they've actually dropped out of the top 4, and they need to win. Guess who they face in 2 weeks, by the way, as well? Kazahu United, their old grand final enemies. So WPL is heating up. That's why the podcast has been branded with WPL colours. You're going to enjoy that when we get to there. But until then, as I mentioned, World Cup Day, it's time that I put on my Spartans and my BDSFA hat and I talk about some former players, some juniors of our local clubs who've come through this system, played on these pitches and shared the same change rooms as you guys would have. Let's start on the Blacktown District Soccer Football Association based front. Kaya Simon and Courtney Nevin, Quakers Hill Juniors and Oakville United Juniors respectively. Now Kaya has gone on to be one of Australia's greatest ever footballing exports and athlete in general exports. She's played in 4 different countries. She scored at 2 separate World Cups, 2011, 2015, 111 caps, golden boots here and there. She's been an inspiration. She truly has. And this could very well be a brilliant swan song for her now at age 32. Courtney Nevin is at a different stage of her career. She bundled around a couple of NPL clubs, including Spartans on 2 separate occasions, mixed in with several years at the Wanderers next door, but also a championship year at Melbourne Victory, then off to Hammarby in Sweden, which is proving a popular ground for young Matildas girls. Then when Leicester City from the WSL came interested, first a loan, now a full signing after a great loan stint, very much part of that defensive right flank that was good last year in Fox's colours. Now off to the Spartans world, also Courtney Nevin as mentioned, but also Kyra Cooney-Cross and Charlotte Grant, 2 fullbacks and a 6/8/10. Both Courtney and Charlotte are competing with the one and only Ellie Carpenter for a spot at that right defensive fullback flank. So that's going to have to be pretty high standards, but they can cover so many positions across the back line and even the right flank really above adequately, brilliantly well. You've already heard a little bit about Courtney Nevin, but Charlotte in particular, she came through at Adelaide in the South Australian region of Australia. But she also spent some time at Spartans before she went away to Sweden as well. Again, popular ground for young Australian female footballers. Finally, Kyra, a brilliant midfield technician who just oozed class when she played on this pitch. It was a pleasure to watch her across 2 years. Now, she is both a mix of a technically brilliant player and also a dogged hard worker. It's rare to find a mix of two who can balance both so brilliantly. That's why she's capable from 6 to 8 to 10 in that engine room. And so rare to find in 2023, let alone as a 21-year-old. She broke through with her bestie Courtney Nevin. They both came through at Western Sydney Wanderers, then they went off to Victory, and Kyra in particular was instrumental in that grand final pair of wins over Sydney FC, particularly from the corner kick spot as well. Now off at Hammarby in Sweden too. Brilliant player, wonderful player. It's a best of luck to those 4 girls in particular, but to the Matildas as a whole. So awesome how small the footballing world actually is when you look a bit deeper into it. Remember, the girls kick off tonight. Yes, tonight. 8 p.m. It's amazing. The World Cup is here. How good. Let's go through some results. Let's change the tone a little bit. For our AYL boys, the 13s went down 6-1, the 14s won 5-2, the 15s won 3-2, the 16s went down 5-1, before the 18s ended on a high, winning 5-2. As always, if you want the rundown of what each of those results mean in the context of each of those teams' respective seasons, go to our social media pages. Please, thank you, and leave a like. Some more results because of a lack of interviews in general today. But let's go through the WPL from Sunday. A huge win for Norwest over Castle Hill United, 2-1. They have broken into the top 4 finally. And the WPL is heating up so brilliantly right now. It's probably the most entertaining league we've got, you know. Holroyd beat Kellyville 2-1 in a big performance. Greystanes 2, Quakers 2. And in the match of the round, Parkley 2-1 over Winston Hills. You want to analyse? No? Well, sorry, because we're about to. It took just 20 minutes to find the first goal of the day, and it was Winston Hills Bears who thought they might just be doing it again over Parkley. In fairness to Danielle Rolfe, she has only just recently returned back to the starting positions, but has showed a lack of focus here and giving the ball away. What happened next, though, was brilliant. Tara Hughes gets a rush of blood, decides to beat 2 players, and with sumptuous ease, a classy, low-driven, left-footed, weak-footed finish into the bottom right-hand corner, 1-0. 15 minutes later, though, one of the most unlucky but still amazing own goals you're ever likely to see. A bad mix-up with Quiver Hogan losing possession just outside of her box, picked up by Shannon Murray, who had a fantastic game overall. She then just hit it across the face of the 6-yard box as hard as she could, and Alyssa Pearce had to get something on it. An instinctive flick out of the leg into her own net, unfortunately. Now, I've been giving the Bears their credit where it was due for their knack of playing out from the back quite well, actually, but on this occasion, a big no-no, and 1-1 it was. Only a couple of minutes after the restart, and Shannon Murray, the player of the match, would earn such credentials. Given away by Lily Loudon, some great work by Melissa Bentley, and even better through pass here, and Murray was always going to win the foot race. It could have very well been one of those opportunities, though, where she had too much time to think about it, but that would not prove to be the case at all. Lovely finish, and that's how it would end. It's moments for Winston Hills. It really is just moments that decide the season, but Parkley, brilliant. Shannon Murray in particular, wow, very impressed. Right, the Women's Premier League is going to be so much fun as we run in towards the finals. It's a question of who actually is going to get there, though. There's only one way to find out. Watch the games. Kellyville host the match of the round this week. We're going to chat to them up first. A word of warning though, I did have to edit some of this, so it does seem a bit choppy and changey at times, so just forgive me. Or don't, you don't have to forgive me, I don't mind. Leave a like anyway. Vamos. It has been a little while indeed since we've had the girls and Bob from Kellyville Colts on the podcast. They've had some up and down form in recent weeks. They featured in the match of the round in a 2-all in a wildly entertaining game against Castlehoo United many moons ago. They're finally back on for the last time on live streams this season until we get to the finals. That being said, should they make the top 4, it should be said. Bob, welcome back. I'll ask you the first question. Finally back onto the show. The last time we had you on, you were just full strength heading into the Castlehoo United match of the round. So we'll start with a bit of a throwback. Claire Watts scores 2 identical free kicks in a matter of minutes. There was 3 goals in 180 seconds. That must have been a frustrating way to sort of lose the lead twice in that game, would you say?
Yeah, look, and on reflection, it's a bit annoying. We've had about 7 free kicks given away outside the 18-yard box, and it's influenced the game every time. But no, we're thoroughly enjoying the competition at the moment, Mark. It's been fantastic. We're playing some great teams, and Blacktown, Hills and Granville should be congratulated for putting together such a brilliant competition. And every team we've played so far, we've all been played in great spirit, including Castlehoo United and Norwest.
Good to hear. Good to hear that the banter and the rivalry in the Hills still lives on. Now, from left to right across the screen, welcome to Kalia, to Caitlin, and to Natalie. Kelly will have the most debutants on the podcast so far this year, so I'll give you that sort of medal. Here you go. Enjoy that one. We've had the most faces feature on. I guess I'll get the opinion of all 3 of you at some point, but maybe I just want to hear it from whoever's brave enough to speak up. It has been a case of 1 win in the last 5, and that win was against sort of bottom of the table Winston Hills. But at least it was good to get a win in the Hills derby. Of course, sort of what's caused whoever's brave enough to speak up. I know it's a hard question to answer right off the bat, but what's caused this 180-degree flip in form? And can you sort of put your finger on what it is?
Natalie?
Yeah, a bit of a mixture. We've had injuries. We've had people playing in random positions. We've had to just randomly put a striker in our right back. We've just had to make do with what we have. We have had a little bit of leave, good old Europe. Everyone wants to go to Europe. So, yeah, we've had to also deal with that on top of injuries. And then just trying to build our spirits, continuously losing when we know that we're actually putting 110% in is quite hard and deflating. So just trying to overcome that and work together as a team when we're also struggling with that in the background. So that's probably explained a little bit of the flip. It's not just one thing. It's you have to overcome 3 instead of 1, I guess.
Actually, very well said. Well done. That's a good first answer. Keep it up. Momentum is good. Now, I'll put it to someone else. I think you'll find that people will say really nice things about your style of football. Now, I've already recorded with Quakers Hill Juniors, so it's not a bad thing for me to say this, but that they're an admirer of the way you guys play, stylistically and aesthetically. And so that must be a good thing, but maybe someone besides Natalie, do you sort of resonate with what she said about playing good football, but it not necessarily turning into results? Is that must be a frustrating thing, knowing that what you're doing is good, but it's not getting the 3 points?
Caitlin?
Yeah, so as she said, players who aren't used to other positions like strikers and defenders, they've had to get used to that, especially after loss. They don't feel like it's their fault, which it's not necessarily. We've just all had to come together. But following a loss, you go into the game thinking, oh, you're going to lose or win this, which you shouldn't be thinking that. You should just be thinking about winning, which is hard because obviously at the start of the season, we're very strong, playing together so nice and smoothly, and then injuries came, whatnot, and it's loss after loss. But I think we're slowly getting there.
Yep.
So we're back to a full strength now, Mark. So the team, we're back to full strength this weekend, although we did get a couple of injuries from Holroyd, unfortunately, which we still we're assessing tonight. But don't move your knee. So we're back to full strength now. We'll win the last 4 games that we play. I think it's 4 that we need to win. Is that right? Including the bye, and then hopefully we'll make the top 4. And once we make the top 4, Mark, then we're settled. That's exactly where we wanted to finish. We don't care where in the top 4 we finish, as long as we're in the top 4.
I wish you all the best of luck in the bye game, by the way. That sounds like it's going to be a really tough one. Certainly, it'll test your mettle.
Thank you very much.
I was going to ask, short and simple, was the problem fixable? But that sounds pretty resolute from your end. So I will just go straight into a question about Quakers Hill. Sorry, there is a championship game happening behind me. If you can't hear it, I will do my best to speak over it. I don't usually have the problem, so I'll keep going on. Now, Carly, I'll ask you, again, welcome to the podcast. You put 7 on Quakers Hill Juniors last time, away from home as well, which would have been a strange way to pack up the goals at the end of a Sunday for them. And so that would really have hurt them. So they've got a bit of a bone to pick with you guys. In saying that, it was only less than a fortnight ago where they were conceding 7 in a match of the round game to your top 4 rivals in Northwest. So considering your form and what you've seen from their live stream appearance recently, and also the fact that you beat them 7-0 earlier in the season, is this actually your chance now, following a really close game against top of the table Holroyd, to bounce back, springboard into the top 4 again?
Yeah, look, I think we're all hoping that we're going to come out with a win this weekend. Obviously, we've shown that we can score goals against Quakers Hill. And I think that obviously if we can play sort of in the form that we are sort of used to playing in, and play together well like we have in the past, I think we can probably, hopefully show the same form that we showed when we put 7 goals against them. But yeah, I guess the time will tell, and hopefully with all our players back on Sunday, it'll be more than 7.
Oh, let's just go straight for a win, shall we?
Yeah, the BDSFA Blacktown badge on me is hurting after hearing that, but certainly can't deny when good football comes to the front. Now,
they're a great team, Mark. We just got lucky last time we played them. They're a great team, Quakers Hill. We really enjoyed playing against them. They're a good bunch of girls, and they play a good brand of football. We just got lucky. We just got on a nice winning streak, and let's hope we bring it again on Sunday. Fingers crossed.
Now, it's the first time since the opening round of the season that you guys have actually dropped out of the top 4. It's only a points difference. Anything could happen. But you also do have a bye, which won't guarantee any points. So I actually want to look past this match of the round. And after this weekend, you have that bye. Then you have Castle Hill in, a rematch of the match of the round. Obviously, last time it was 2-2 between you guys. It's objective, the fact that game could make or break your season in terms of a 6-pointer and top 4. So you have to win that game more than they have to. So are you sort of looking ahead to that point? You obviously have a game and then a bye in between them, but are you looking at that game as sort of the be all and end all of the season, Bob?
No, we're just gonna put it into the hands of the football gods. We're gonna try and win every single game we possibly can. We want to sing the song every week. In particular, we want to sing it very loud against Castle Hill again. No, we'll just play one game at a time, and then hopefully get to the top 4 by the end of the season. That's what we're looking for.
Okay, I will leave no comments on that, but certainly frustration, because people are putting pride on the line and their reputations as well on the Women's Premier League, especially as the stakes are high in the live stream. Guys, thanks very much. And to Natalie, to Caitlin, and to Carly for coming on for the first time. Really do appreciate it. Good luck ahead of this weekend. Good luck for the rest of the season. And until we see you guys maybe in the finals again, when we do another one of these ahead of the live stream match of the round for the final series, thank you for all being wonderful guests this year on the podcast. I do appreciate it.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
Thanks.
They're stressing a little bit. A tiny bit. Not that they'll admit it, though. Always confident. And I like it. I rate it. Welcome back. Before we hear the response from their opponents, Quakers, let's do some more results. Spartans. We didn't score this week. Chronologically, first Saturday, then Sunday. 2-0 20s loss, 1-0 first grade loss, 1-0 reserve grade loss, 3-0 first grade loss. Swiftly moving on. Quakers Hill.
Hasn't been too long since we had Quakers Hill Juniors on the podcast, but for the last time this season, it's time for some pre-match of the round chats. Mario and Jamie Cumbo, thanks very much for being back on the podcast once again. I need to start by asking about the most recent match of the round. Now, there was some Jenna Howe brilliance. There was a great spot kick by you, Jamie. It was a great game, all things considered, for about 60 minutes. And then Norwest just switched to this impossibly high gear. They score 5 goals in 20 minutes. 7-2 ended up being the final score. Now, I hate to sort of rip off that Band-Aid and be so blunt like that, but had you have stopped watching at 65 minutes and then someone told you the full-time score half an hour later, you would have kicked them and said, stop lying to me. So, Mario, can you go about sort of explaining what happened in those last 20 minutes 2 Sundays ago and just sort of Where did it all go so wrong in that last bit of the game?
Look, I think we just lost the plot in that last 20 minutes. Like you said, Jamie scored a penalty in the 68th minute, and we had high hopes of at least snagging a draw. To be fair, look, they were playing quite well. They had a few chances. They hit the crossbar prior to us getting the draw, and like you said, they switched it on. They've got two amazing strikers, and they took us to the sword really, and just we didn't cope with it. We probably were a bit shell shocked, and I think when the first two went in, everybody was just looking at each other, thinking, "What's going on?" And I think there's just everybody dropped their heads a little bit, and we just didn't manage that last 20 minutes very well. But to be fair to them, they played well. They even had the score been 2-2, they would have been probably bitterly disappointed that they probably didn't win the game, because they had created enough chances to do so. It's just we probably managed them very well in that first half, and that we didn't give their strikers the latitude that they got in that last 20 minutes. So yeah, look, very disappointing. It's hard to come back from a loss like that. Had the score been 4-2, we would have walked away and said, maybe a fair indication of the score, but to lose 7-2, it really does hurt. So, anyway.
Yeah, I'm sure it does. I think what it has revealed is that the team is young and has the ability to just switch off. I don't think there are some more mature, some more senior teams where that probably wouldn't happen, at least in a 5-goal manner like that. And it is part of the learning. Every young kid has got to go through it. I certainly remember some times where I would have switched off in games when I was really rather young, and that burns. Forgive me for all the yelling happening behind me. There's a championship game being decided on Blacktown Football Park. Jamie, for you personally, I thought it was a really good game up until sort of the midfield just sort of got tired, and mentally and physically. Obviously, a match of the round goal to go with it as well. And I thought it was great stuff for most of it. But I do have to ask, you score in the 68th minute to equalise it 2-2, and then they start scoring all their goals. But did you actually feel the mood sort of flatten maybe after their third goal? Was there a tangible feeling of, okay, something's about to go wrong here, or did it just happen and then boom, the game was over?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think it was probably a mix of I think we got tired. I think maybe whether it be that we didn't have enough subs, or just maybe because we sort of went down, everyone sort of just became a bit, disheartened that we were going to struggle to try and get back. I'm not really quite sure, but it's probably a bit of a mix of just we were tired, and we just weren't getting our heads sort of straight, and we just panicked, just trying to get rid of the ball and try and keep the score down as low as we could. But, we just sort of did what we did at the time.
Yeah. Now, Mario, I didn't know what to expect coming into the game against Greystanes this week, because they are a team with, a bit of motivation. They're fighting for top 4. They're not sort of down towards the bottom. They're not sort of out for the count. They have motivation to still fight. They're still in it. Now, how did you go about putting Band-Aids over the wounds left by Norwest? Because whatever you did has clearly helped, however you motivated them, because 2-2 wasn't a bad turnaround against a decent Greystanes side.
Oh, look, I don't think you had to say too much. Everybody was disappointed with the effort in that last 20 minutes. And, when you just talk statistics, people quickly realise that, up until then we were in the game. So it didn't take too much to motivate. And to be honest with you, I didn't really have a big team talk for them at training either. I just sort of said, look, I'd rather just forget that last 20 minutes and maybe focus on the great goal that Jenna scored, and and what we did prior to that. And so I really didn't go out there and sort of try to right the wrongs, because I don't think you can do it at this level. You have them for maybe once or twice a week, and they know what needed to be done. And look, to be fair, they bounced back in an amazing style, because we actually were up 2-0 in that game, and then we were, I won't say cruising, we were doing quite well, and then there was a send-off of 2 players, one from each side, which probably hurt us more, because we were actually carving them up out wide, and we ended up having to lose one of our wide players, and that didn't help. And then we had a concussion in in the early in the second half who couldn't go back on. We had a major leg injury, knee injury for one of our players, another one with an ankle injury. So our 10 players on the field end up being about eight fit players at one stage, and we struggled to manage that, which I'm not upset. It's pretty hard to do so when you're playing teams that are very physical and you're down on numbers. So look, overall, the comeback was amazing. The sad part about it is we're probably light on troops now. After that match, it's probably, they're a very physical side, probably a little bit too physical for my liking, but they've left their mark on the team for this week because we're down on troops because of it. So.
Sounds like it was an entertaining game for a lot of reasons, and the neutral would have certainly enjoyed that. I can hear the sly sarcasm through the screen. Now, Jamie, you're coming up against a team with you have an interesting history with. Kellyville have 1 win in their last 5 games. It's been some shocking form considering the start to the season. And by shocking, I don't mean shocking bad. I mean shocking for those who saw them, how good they were and sort of where they are now. They're very different to the side that beat you by a very handsome 7 goals last time. So it's not the first time that you've shipped a 7 before. But I would say that it's not the same team in terms of their form than what you faced that day. So would you sort of agree that this is right now the best time to actually face Kellyville and get your revenge?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, going into that game, I feel like Colts, for me personally, were really good in terms of the way that they played their football. Probably, in my opinion, probably the best team in terms of the way that they pass the ball around and sort of work as a team. So going into the game, I'm very nervous considering as well we are down on players. I'm hoping that we can sort of, either get the win or at least hold them out and sort of play good football because, they are a very good side. Even if they've only had 1 game in the last 5, 1 win in the last 5 games, I still think they will do a very good job on the weekend. So, going into it, definitely want to try, our best to sort of, with the players we've got, to try and, hold them out and maybe get a win. But, they're a very good side. So I'm not sort of persuaded to being like, yeah, we're going to get our revenge. I think we're just going to really try and hope for a win.
Yeah, absolutely. That's probably the safe way to put it, and just let your football do the talking when we do get to Sunday 3 p.m. Guys, I wish you the best of luck heading into that game. Of course, top 4 is still very much, anybody could still actually make the top 4, even down all the way to 10th place. So, 9th technically. So I wish you guys the best of luck going into that. Just quickly, any predictions for what will actually come out as today's game, but tomorrow's game from the time we're recording? Any predictions for you guys who are going to the Matildas game?
Oh, look, definite. Matildas win. Whether it'll be 2-0, I'm going probably for a 2-0 win. I'd be disappointed if they didn't win. There's going to be 86,000 people possibly there, break the record for a women's sporting event. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So.
Brilliant. Well said, guys. Thanks very much for being really good podcast guests as well this year. You guys have been consistently fantastic and never caused me any troubles in organising, so I do appreciate it. Good luck this Sunday, by the way, guys.
Appreciate it. Thank you. See you then.
Hello again. Good to see them still smiling. You've got to love the Combo clan. They've just been such a breath of fresh air this year on the podcast. Up next is St Pat's in the Men's Deploy Premier League 2. They have Minchinbury this week. They actually took a couple of their players after a mid-season fiasco, so there might be a bit of feeling in this one from the Minchinbury end, but we wouldn't know because they didn't get on to answer the questions, I should say. Either way, Michael and Mario. Another Mario. Wow, there you go. 2 Marios in a row. Mario squared. Let's go.
It's been a long time in between drinks since we've had St Pat's back on the podcast ahead of a match of the round. They face Minchinbury this Saturday, 6 p.m. at their home ground at Bert Saunders. And they're a really interesting team, St Pat's, to look at when we go through some of the ins and outs and bits of details about their season. So let's dissect that as we go through. I welcome back Mario and, of course, Michael, coach and captain of this wonderful side. Welcome back to the podcast, guys. It's great to have you back. Now, it won't be good to hear. It won't be a promotion season this year, but I would suggest that your first grade and reserve grade could be very competitive in the final series. You guys are both sitting in fourth right now across those two grades. You're clear of Spurs in first grade by 3 points. You're clear of Glenwood in reserve grade by 8. Now, straight off the bat, Mario, I want to know, do you deem that to be a successful season if it stays that way across both grades?
I'll answer that in two ways. Yes, it's good to be in the finals if we end up both grades in the finals. But I earlier in the season, probably around round 5, I thought we'd finish a lot higher in both grades. So we've had disruption, we've had injuries, suspensions, etc. that have impacted on our performances over the weeks, especially this long period. But it'll be good to be in the finals. But I had hoped to do a little bit better. That's how I feel about the season so far. Yes.
Okay, well, we will unpack that a little bit more as we go. But certainly there's a chance too, when you make finals, make amends, and maybe, you know, in a couple of years, those current feelings that you have now will be washed away. Let's say if you make a grand final, perhaps. But we will see. That's the fun of football. Michael, once again, thanks for joining us a little bit before you go to work. Now, in the last match of the round, it was a 3-2 loss to Tigers here at BFP all those weeks and months ago. All 3 goals against you guys came in the first 30-odd minutes or so, and they all came from set pieces as well. But you actually showed really good fight back in that game, and that could have gone a different way. One of those set pieces actually came off your head. You went off just over here. You put yourself on the line and you tried to head it away, and it was just hit too nicely, and it went over you slightly. But have you guys fixed up those set piece issues since then? Would you say? Have you considered 3 set pieces in a game since then, for example?
Not really. In regards to that game, that was a very tough loss to take. We always see Tigers as a big opponent and a team that we can look forward to challenging every year. That game we started a bit slow. Like you said, I was trying to put my body on the line, but sometimes in those cases you need a bit of luck. In regards to our set pieces, we've worked on them, and we've become really better at it as the season has progressed. But we still cop some silly goals defending wise. But I think that's just some, like in football. Sometimes you just need a little bit of luck, and sometimes you're just unlucky. And those chances, someone will miss it and will bounce off someone and it will go in. But as a team, as a whole, I think we've clearly improved compared to that game against Tigers, and so far so good.
Yeah, really well said. I think Mario would have to agree with that. Having done my research, now, despite sitting in that 4th spot, you're actually yet to beat the 3 teams above you this season: Polonia, Oakville, or Tigers in ascending order. Now, there have been some draws, yes. There have been some narrow defeats, like the one that we were just talking about here. And Tigers will always say very nice things about you guys in terms of sticking in games. You guys don't ever bow out until the final whistle of the game, which is something that they will say about you guys, and they experience that firsthand here. But yes, despite some draws and some narrow defeats, it's been an available 2 points from a total of 24 against the 3 clubs against you guys. And that's crazy, because what it basically means is that you've been pretty perfect against everybody else, against your Minchinburys, against your Glenwoods, for example. For starters, I have to ask, is this the first time that you've heard about or sort of been able to wrap your head around that record, Mario? And could you perhaps touch on what might be going wrong and what we could deem to be those games against bigger opponents?
No, I'm fully aware of our performance against the teams that are coming above us. But just to give you a bit of context on that, at some point, especially against Polonia and Oakville, we've led, I believe, at one point, one of those games 3-0, and we've let the opposition come back, including Tigers. We led them three quarters of a game, 1-0, and then they put 2 on us so quickly, and they won the game. Obviously, that was at our home ground. Very difficult loss to take. Again, to a set piece. Sorry, no, not that game, but. A couple of those other games have been to set pieces, and we definitely an area where we need to improve if we're going to compete. If we are going to make the finals and then compete to make it into a grand final, I think that we've got a good side. We've been able to develop some juniors that have now become permanent fixtures in the side, and I think we can compete on a good day. Some of those results are, especially against Oakville, I think we lost 4-2. That was just bad games for us. I don't think that particular game is an indication of how we can play. The result last week is more of an indication of how we can play and the results we can get. 1-0 loss against Tigers is nothing to be ashamed of. They've got a gun side. We kept up with them. It was just a set piece. Unfortunately, that got us that loss.
Like you said, it is no bad occurrence to be going down to Tigers. Everything flying their way this year, certainly, and credit to them. Now, Michael, someone you're not struggling against this year is Minchinbury. A pair of 3-0 wins in first grade, home and away. You're back at home this weekend as well. It's safe to say, I know that there was a bit of a fiasco where St. Pat's have picked up a couple of their players in midfield positions halfway through the season. So, I guess there's an element of that to it. But it's pretty safe to say that St. Pat's have not struggled against Minchinbury this year in the 2 times that you've met already.
So far, not really, but no game is guaranteed while playing these teams. Say if you don't show up on the day, there's a tendency of them showing up and beating you. So no game is guaranteed when we're playing. Yes, it might look like a easy win for St. Pat's, but at the end of the day, we have to show up and play the games, because they're not going to show up and be like, oh, well, they've beaten us twice, they're going to beat us again. They're going to show up wanting to fight, wanting to finish the season on a high. So us as well, we have to be determined to win that game. And like we're talking about finals football, we have to get our mind straight and start winning games, start building momentum towards the finals.
Yeah, absolutely. And it should be said as well that Minchinbury have scored in at least 2 goals in every match of round that they participated in this year. So, having 3-0 wins against them, if history tells you anything, that they actually like to turn it on and play attacking football when the cameras are on. So we could be in for a really good match. Now, Mario, I'll bring it to you to close. We're a couple of weeks now barring a collapse from you guys being in the finals. Now, I know that the reserve grade side's actually in pretty uncharacteristically bad form, and you were higher up the table recently, but provided that you guys stay where you are and considering the gap in reserve grade to 5th place, you've got a chance in the most important part of the season to turn around that poor record against the higher, better teams, against those top 3 sides. So now that you've sort of already played those last couple of matches against them, are you confident that by the time that you get to final football, when it's one game determines who stays in, who stays out, that you can turn it around by them and have a memorable campaign?
I believe we can. So there's, again, a bit of context as to why we're performing badly. We have a lot of injuries, broken arms. We've lost some key players, suspensions as well, which we're not proud of. So all that will be resolved over the coming weeks. So we'll get at least 5 players back, good quality players that make a difference to the side, to both sides. So I think that if we stay on track, we stay focused and disciplined, because that's been the cause of our suspension. I think we can mount a strong campaign in the finals.
Yep, certainly, I agree, and I know that you guys love to have good performances as well in the match of the rounds, much like Minchinbury, which is why I think it'll be a great game. And St. Pat's in years gone by have been a club that have turned it on at the right time, and I'm keen to see if that comes to fruition as well this year. To Mario and to Michael, both of whom who are taking breaks from work or preparing to go into work to feature on the podcast today, I really do appreciate you guys featuring here. Thank you very much. I know it's been a long time between drinks from the first to the last, but it's great to have you guys back on. Best of luck this weekend, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Going to be a good one, I promise that, and it could secure top 4 as I mentioned earlier in the podcast. Let's go through some PL2 results, some deployed PL2 results. Quakers beat St. Pat's 1-0, surprise, surprise, no. Glenwood with an upset over Oakville, 4-2 winners. Once again, Oakville just loved that scoreline for or against them. Polonia 3-1 over the Jets. In the Deploy, Premier League 1, Quake 4-2 over Parkley, which keeps the relegation battle fresh. Dooney 3-zip over Quakers in a big one. Prospect 2 to Ropes Crossing 4 as they just keep on doing it. While Marion secured club championship over Ponds, winning 3-0. And then in the match of the round, well, my word, no post-match of the round recap coming this week. Sorry about that. If you would like to know what happened in that game, you can find out for yourself. It wasn't really a close one, unfortunately. I'm not going to lie to you. That's actually going to do it for this week's episode of the Blacktown Football Hour podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. Episode 20 already. We're actually definitely going to eclipse the total amount of episodes that we had last year, mainly because I started earlier, didn't take 2 weeks off for sick leave this year, didn't go to Melbourne this year either, so we've got an extra episode in there too. And yeah, so I hope you're enjoying the content, because I am. I'm loving making these episodes. And then watching them run into the finals for our live streamed leagues has been awesome. A reminder as well, thank you very much to Robert Finn for being one of the most deserving Volunteer of the Week winners, probably of all time, and if not, that we've had so far. Really, really awesome. Injury Jets representative. Thank you for helping us reach 930 subscribers. You're absolutely wonderful people. Only 70 more needed for the sprint. And I know some of you are waiting with bated breath. Some of you don't know what I'm talking about, and that's fair enough too. Good luck to the Tillies, you absolute legends. We are all behind you, all of us here at Blacktown, all of us here in Sydney, all of us here in Australia. So proud of what's already been achieved, and we're going to do so much more. I can feel it. But until then, cue the outro music.